Welcome. Thank you for joining tonight for two quick stories from a book of nature myths, adapted by Flora Cook in 1885. First, the story of Arachne. Arachne was a beautiful maiden and the most wonderful weaver that ever lived. Her father, too, was famed throughout the land for his great skill in coloring. He dyed Arachne's wools in all of the colors of the rainbow, and people came from miles around to see and admire her work. They all agreed that Queen Athena must have been her teacher. But Arachne proudly said that she had never been taught to weave. She said that she would be glad to weave with Athena to see which of them had a greater skill. In vain, her father told her that perhaps Athena, unseen, guided her hands. But Arachne would not listen and would thank no one for her gift, believing only in herself. One day, as she was boasting of her skill, an old woman came to her. She kindly advised Arachne to accept her gift humbly. "Be thankful that you are so fortunate, Arachne," said she. "You give great happiness to others by your beautiful work, and Queen Athena longs to help you. But I warn you, she can do no more for you until you grow unselfish and kind." Arachne scorned this advice and said that nothing would please her so much as to weave with Athena. "If I fail," she said, "I will gladly take the punishment. But Athena is afraid to weave with me." Then the old woman threw aside her cloak and said, "Athena is here. Come, foolish girl, you shall try your skill with hers." Both went quickly to work, and for hours their shuttles flew swiftly in and out. Athena, as usual, used the sky for her loom, and in it she wove a picture too beautiful to describe. If you wish to know more about it, look at the western sky when the sun is setting. Arachne's work, though her colors were in harmony and her weaving wonderfully fine, was full of spite and selfishness. When the work was finished, she lifted her eyes to Athena's, and instantly she knew that she had failed. Ashamed and miserable, she tried to hang herself in her loom. But Athena saw her and took pity. "No, you shall not die. You shall live and do the work for which you are best fitted. You shall be the mother of a great race of weavers, which shall be called spiders, and you and your children shall be among the greatest spinners on the earth." As she spoke, Arachne became smaller and smaller until she was scarcely larger than a fly. And from that day until this, Arachne and her family have been faithful spinners, but they do their work so quietly and in such dark places that very few people know what marvelous weavers they are. The next story is called The Grateful Foxes. It was springtime in Japan, and the blossoms hung thick on the cherry trees. Butterflies and dragonflies fluttered over the golden colza flowers in the fields. The rice birds chirped merrily. Everything seemed to say, How good it is to live in days like these. A beautiful princess, Haru-san, sat on the bank of a stream, gaily pulling the lilies. Along the riverbank came a troop of noisy, laughing boys, carrying a young fox cub. They were trying to decide who should have its skin and who its liver. At a safe distance from them, in a bamboo thicket, Father Fox and Mother Fox sat looking sadly at their little cub. The princess's heart was filled with pity, and she said, "Boys, pray loose the little fox. See his parents weeping in the rocks." But the boys shook their heads. "We shall sell the fox's skin," they said. "The liver too. If well powdered, it will be used to cure fevers in the fall." "Listen," cried Haru-san. "It is springtime and everything rejoices. How can you kill such a small, soft beast? Here is twice your price. Take it all." And she dropped copper money and silver money from her girdle. The boys placed the little frightened animal in her lap and ran away, pleased to be so rich. The cub felt the touch of her soft hand and trembled no longer. She loosened carefully the knot and noose and string. She stroked the red fur smooth again and bound up the little bleeding leg. She offered it rice and fish to eat, but its eyes plainly said, "This is very nice, but I hear my parents grieving near yonder bean straw stack. I long to go and comfort them." So she set the little fox on the ground gently, and forgetting its wounded leg, it leapt through the bushes at one happy bound. The two old foxes gravely looked it over and licked it from its bushy tail to its smooth brown crown. Then, sitting up on their haunches, they gave two sharp barks of gratitude. That was their way of saying, "We send you thanks, sweet maid." As she walked home by the riverside, all the world seemed more beautiful to Haru-san. The summertime came, and the blossoms upon the cherry trees became rich, ripe fruit. But there was no joy in the emperor's house. His daughter, the gentle Haru-san, was ill. She grew paler and weaker each day. Physicians came from far and near and shook their wise heads gravely. When the emperor's magician saw her, he said, "No one can heal such sickness. A charm falls upon her every night which steals away her strength. He alone can break that spell. He who with sleepless eyes can watch beside her bedside until sunrise." So the emperor ordered gray-haired nurses to sit by her side until morning. But a deep sleep fell upon them at midnight. Next, 80 maidens of the court, who loved her very well, kept bright lights burning all night, yet they too fell asleep. 5 counselors of state watched with her father at the bedside. Though they propped their eyes open with their fingers, still in the middle of the night, slumber overcame them. All believed that the gentle maid would die, and the emperor was in despair. But Ito, a brave soldier, said, "I shall not sleep. Let me one night guard the sweet Haru-san. Her father led him to the chamber. Just at midnight, Ito felt his eyes grow heavy. But he rose and held his sword above his head. "Rather will I die than sleep," he said. Then came a great struggle. Often his head nodded, but by his love and strength, Ito conquered sleep. Suddenly, he heard a voice which said, "Great fox's livers into the princess's broth, and all her ills will disappear." The next morning, the hunters searched far and near for foxes. To the emperor, a fox was worth its weight in gold now. All day and night, the hunters were in the woods, without food or rest. At last, they came sadly back to their homes. They brought no fox. "All of the foxes know," they said, "and have hidden themselves away." The emperor, in grief and anger, cried, "Why must my child perish? Shall a princess die for the lack of one poor fox? She who was never willing that one should be slain, and this is her reward." Ito said, "I will get the fox," and he started out with knife and net to seek one. At the entrance of the town, he met a woman dressed in strange garments. She seemed very small and stooped to Ito. She carried a jar in her arms and bowed very low before him and said, "What you seek is in the jar." "Here is gold," said Ito. "What is your price?" The woman pulled her blue hood further down over her face and said, "Another time will do. I can wait. Hasten now to the princess." Gladly Ito obeyed. They made the broth in a bowl of beaten gold and fed it to Haru-san. Immediately she was well, and all was joy in the emperor's house. The emperor said, "Ito, is she who brought this blessing paid?" Ito answered, "Yonder she waits at the entrance of the town." The emperor himself, in his great joy, went out with Ito to meet her. But where she had stood, they found only a dead fox lying in the gate.